Sydney's Luxcon Group has announced its second Melbourne acquisition in just 6 months, securing a 1,400 square metre Port Melbourne waterfront parcel for a $70 million high-end unit project. Joining us to explore the project is Luxcon Managing Director, Ilya Melnikoff. Thanks for joining us on the Urban Developer. Now, you acquired the site for $16.5 million from a local developer V-Leader in an off-market deal. Can you just take us through the acquisition?
Yeah, look, it's actually became a very incidental opportunity because we were negotiating on another site nearby, and we nearly culminated that deal. But in the last minute, planning due diligence kind of proved us that was a bit risky to proceed on. And in the midst of that, one of our internal staff locally, just through other relationship, just introduced this opportunity that they were about to take it to the market, and we started looking into it, and it proved to be a viable opportunity. I think it's a very interesting site, and we kind of proceeded with it, and I think it was a very fortunate and timely opportunity.
So just tell us a little bit about the site, Ilya. Can you describe it? From
the first time I visited the site, I just think it's quite a unique spot, and just like what we're doing with East Melbourne, I mean, this particular site is I feel it's probably the best site in Port Melbourne, in that sort of pocket. It's an island site. It's you've got 4 frontages. You've got an amazing kind of surrounding landscape. You feel like you're almost in Miami, partly because you're surrounded by these palm trees. You've got beach on one side. You've got beautiful residential architecture on the rear with all the Federation houses. You've got uninterrupted city views pretty much from the second level up. So it's a very open, very island site. It just always kind of lent itself to create something really unique and a landmark for that location. You're looking straight into the port towards the station pier, watching Spirit Tasmania come in, and I just think I always felt there was something really kind of romantic in a way about this site, because you've got all these different contexts in the surroundings of it.
And this is your second acquisition in Melbourne, I think, this year.
Yep.
What's behind this push south from Sydney, and what attracted you to Port Melbourne specifically?
I always liked Melbourne. Always enjoyed visiting the city. I think it's got an amazing complementing fundamentals to Sydney. I think the government there has done a tremendous job in creating this sort of cosmopolitan feel about the city, something that Sydney in a way lacking, and that's why I think for us it was always a natural progression to bring the brand into Melbourne. I think councils there, what we're finding, and people in general really appreciate a creative effort by architects and developers. I think there's a high level of taste in design in Melbourne and Victoria in general, and I really think there's a huge upside in Melbourne in particular for high quality product, and I think we're finding that with our East Melbourne project that the rates we got there and the results we got there showed that vindicated kind of my belief that people in Melbourne have just as much, say, financial capacity if they appreciate the product. So I think we've done tremendously well there. We exceeded our expectations. In the coming months we'll be kind of announcing some really records pricing in East Melbourne. I think there will be Melbourne records, and I think that's going to happen the same thing in Port Melbourne, because I honestly think that pocket in itself, obviously, Melbourne is like, to me, is similar to Sydney. So you've got pockets, in Sydney you've got eastern suburbs, lower north shore, inner west, and people in those pockets want to stay in those pockets, and they all have their individual financial capacities for that particular area. So same thing in Melbourne. You've got people who will not buy in East Melbourne who live in Port Melbourne, and same thing, South Yarra, they won't necessarily go to Port Melbourne or East Melbourne. So you got to kind of cater product particular to that demographic. And I think, our target is to position ourselves with trophy sites in any given area that would appreciate luxury product.
And so take us then through off the back of that, the vision for it. But how have you briefed the architects, and what's the design vision?
We chosen car design for this project. I think the fantastic and creative team. They very highly regarded in that in Melbourne market in general, but particularly for Port Melbourne, we felt they're a very appropriate team to use. I sat down with Chris and basically said, look, you've done fantastic work in Melbourne, but I want you to sort of take that to the side, and I want to create something completely new, completely unexpected. It's a site which lends itself, like I said before, to a landmark architectural building, and not just saying landmark and whatever to create something new and architectural, but actually really push the boundaries in terms of what the building will look like. I don't want it to be just another brand new building with a glass facade and frameless balustrades. I want it to be something unique, something you see in done in Europe, in America. Just really something by top end firms which go on really explore the boundaries of architectural design. From my experience, I think every architect really appreciates when developer gives them that freedom to explore and create. And I do think planning authorities in Melbourne, I think from what I've experienced so far, really appreciate that kind of approach from a developer, and they're willing to work with you a lot better.
So where are you drawing inspiration from? Like, have you given any sort of references to specific buildings around the world, or is it carte blanche?
A mix of both. I generally kind of get inspirations from looking around the world, and not just apartment buildings, but general kind of design inspirations. This particular site, I always looked at it as it has to have some sort of nautical theme. It's easy to create just a stark white contemporary building that or beachy type of feel, but I really think I wanted to create something which will have inspiration with the boats, with the sea, with the just that kind of theme in its facade, and that'll transfer from the facade into the internal fit out of the building.
Now, I understand pricing will sort of start around that $2 million mark. What's the kind of mix that you're cutting throughout the building, and who are you targeting as buyers, and where do you reckon those price points will ultimately go?
Look, with every building, I'm trying to cater to different sector of owner occupiers. We always, with every project, we try to spread the mix quite evenly. What we are targeting in general with the apartments now is really large spaces. Whether it's a 2 and 3 bedroom, we try to stay above the standards of the current market. I think the market is appreciating a larger spaces because people a lot of them like to work from home now. People do tend to spend a lot of time at home, whether it's during this periods of lockdown or otherwise. People like good usable outdoor spaces. We're creating things like 3-meter ceilings in our apartments now, both Sydney and Melbourne, because we feel like it's it just gives that point of difference. And sometimes it gives us a lesser mix overall, but I think it creates a much more livable product for which people are also prepared to pay a little bit more, because I think whether owner occupier or investors, it's still an investment for them, and if they buy like something unique, it will also appreciate in value much better than standard. And
so what's the timing, Ilya, on the delivery of the project?
Look, the timing is we're looking to start both projects at the same time with the same construction team. So we're looking at September starting for the East Melbourne, and we're looking at October, November starting on the Port Melbourne. Port Melbourne is a slightly smaller scheme, but we're looking at sort of similar completion time.
And then how do you intend to sort of market the development? I understand you're sort of thinking about an off-market campaign. How does that work?
Yeah, look, we generally go to expression of interest, which lasts a couple of months. We're marketing all internally. We've got a very good team in-house in Melbourne, which we're going to be expanding over the next few months. So it just lets us keep the process more controlled and ensure that the communication and endorsement of what we bring into Melbourne is preserved to its intent.
What's next for Luxcon, both in Sydney and in Melbourne?
So probably in about 6 months' time, we're looking to acquire something else probably in Melbourne. We've got an eye on a couple of opportunities there. So idea is to start construction on these 2 sites, get them out of the ground, and then start looking for more opportunities. In Sydney, we'll be buying another 2 sites. So we'll probably be getting our pipeline in Sydney to at least 500 million this coming year in terms of acquisitions and project value, I mean. And we're looking at another site now in Surface Paradise on a beachfront. So I think that's our next diversification of the brand, so to speak. And yeah, so I think Luxcon will kind of progress quite steeply now, starting from end of this year.
It sounds like you'll be busy for the rest of the year and beyond. Ilya, thanks for your time and all the very best.
Thank you very much.